Hello, how are you? It's Noah here. Welcome to a new video. And this time, I would like to show you this drawing. Well, actually, multiple drawings. But all of these drawings together make an animation. Yes, that's right. Yes, I made an animation by hand. I mean, not by hand, but the items on the animation were made by hand, but it was edited using a phone software. As you can see, there's quite a lot of paper, which is soon going to be filled with color. And you may be wondering, what is this animation about? You see, the last time I did an animation was in April 2022. And I felt kind of bad that I didn't record the process of it. The animation was called The Faces of Young, which was a MMMU fan art for Sola. And it was quite a hit. I felt very proud. It was my best work till date. And now this one is taking its place. I decided to take everything a step further because that animation was like 30 seconds long, and this one is around 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so quite a lot. That's why there's a lot of paper in there. So this animation is for Harry Styles, someone who I haven't drawn in a while, that I've been wanting to draw for so long, and I had so many failed attempts to draw him, so many garbage drawings from last year that I couldn't finish, and I finally found the perfect concept for him. Because if I was gonna draw him again, it had to be something really cool to do him justice, you know. So I decided to make an animation based on his career in general, his albums. I thought of his albums as own separate worlds, and that kind of led me to the concept of this. I didn't really want to make a dress-up game like last time for The Faces of Young. So instead of a dress-up game online, I thought I could make like I don't know how you call this type of games, but the games where you earn money, build things, those kind of addicting games that you can find on your phone. But this one is a computer one, so like a proper game that you can buy and download from, you know, pages. Like The Sims, but not quite The Sims. That's a bit more complex. So I decided to make like a vintage, old school kind of game that you can download, which is modern because the Windows I portrayed was modern but vintage. Okay. So I drew everything by hand, all of the frames, like all the backgrounds are drawn by hand, as you can see. This one is the main page, the main menu, and all the little PNGs, as you can see on this page, they're all drawn by hand as well, but they are drawn in a separate paper, so then I could crop them with my phone and add them on top of the frames, if that makes sense. For The Faces of Young, I actually cut them with scissors and like took pictures of them on top. But this time I did that digitally because cutting everything was gonna be a pain in the neck. So I kind of underestimated how long this was gonna take. I drew a lot of things. I had to draw the window screen, like the desktop. I had to draw the main menu, the loading screens. I had to draw, well, the screens where you actually played things. I had to draw every single item that you can see on the animation, which if you haven't seen, you can check it on my channel, or else you have a link or something at the end of this video if you want to see it. So yeah, I'm not really going to go very deep into everything because it's gonna be a bit tiring. You can check my Twitter because I made a thread of all the references I used from Harry's life and career on this. But yeah, basically my idea for this was like earn money game, right? So you have a world and you have to play in it and you have to choose a character, kind of like Animal Crossing, that kind of cute game. So since the game is called Styles, Harry Styles, first, before you choose your character, you have to choose like a style of gaming. So for that, I use the album. So you have Harry Styles style, Fine Line style, and Harry's House style. And I decided to focus on Harry's House because it's the latest album from Harry. And that's why the screens that come after are, centered on Harry's house. Here you can see one of the screens in which the background is basically Harry's house's cover. And in this screen, you choose the characters. And each character has different skills and weaknesses. Therefore, it changes the way you play the game. Since I imagine this was a cute game, the skills and weaknesses are kind of dumb. But I based all of the skills and weaknesses on the characters I used. For example, the characters that you are able to choose in Harry's house are Harry's house cover, so like the Harry that appears in the cover. You have Harry from Harry Styles Love on Tour. You have Harry from the As It Was music video and Harry from the Music for Us to Do Restaurant music video. And all of those have different skills and weaknesses that were attributed to them kind of like in a funny way. So for example, Harry from As It Was, the weaknesses are he can be alone, he can answer the phone, and he can leave America because that's what the As It Was lyrics says. I thought it was funny, okay? I wanted to share it with you. And yeah, I kind of thought this is of a kind of like a cute resume of Harry's career put into a weird video game animation. I don't know. I think one of my favorite things about this animation is Little Stomper. From the second I thought, okay, I want to make a Harry animation, I was sure I wanted to include Stomper as like the little help guy that you always find in games, like the tutorial guy, the one that appears in notifications when something happens in the game. When you play this type of games, there's always like a little character which is like the boss of the game that kind of tells you things like, oh, you've earned this amount of money, you cannot do this, you can't do that, and stuff like that. So Stomper is quite literally the main character of this animation, not even Harry Styles himself. But yeah, I thought it was really cute. I kind of suck at explaining things. I am not even going in order. But yeah, something else that I was gonna say was that I also included Harry's past albums with One Direction because, well, One Direction kind of made Harry into who he is. Even though he's a really popular solo artist right now, he came from One Direction, so I didn't want to miss on that. And I decided to make the One Direction part of him as locked doors, which you can only access if you purchase the One Direction membership in the game, which is something I completely made up. But I didn't want to go in deep with One Direction because this was Harry Styles centered. So in the animation, you're going to see that the player kind of tries to choose for the album by One Direction 4, and they are not able to because it's locked. And then comes Little Stomper to tell you cannot do that. You have to unlock the doors first. And yeah, basically at the end, when the player chooses the character and chooses the accessory that goes with it. Sorry, the accessory, because it's Harry Styles coded, so it's double R and Y. When the character chooses the character finally. Did I say the character chooses the character? When the player chooses the character, the loading screen changes. So instead of saying just loading, it says loading, but with the character that the player has chosen in better quality. And that's where I show my incredible drawing skills. I did the same thing with the faces of Young. Like the character that was chosen goes at the end of the screen. And this time I used this iconic Harry Styles picture from The Guardian from 2019, in which he's holding like some kind of like black feather boa. And since the accessory that was chosen was the rainbow boa, I made it color. And I changed his clothing to match the character that was chosen, which was Queen of Hearts, which is Harry from Love on Tour. And this is supposed to lead you to the beginning of the game. Now that you have the money that Stomper told you that you've earned because you are a new player, you've earned, I think, 1,000 stylish pounds. I like the name stylish pounds, it's so funny. And 5 watermelons. So now that you've chosen your character and earned some money, you can play. And I think of it as like an Animal Crossing type of game in which Harry has to build farms and collect money, and everything is related to him and his career in some way. I'm kind of sad that I am not a programmer and I cannot make these games a real thing. I just know how to draw. So yeah, talking about drawing, this took a month and around 20 hours worth of editing. It was hell. But hey, on the bright side, it's a great animation, to be honest. Here is me signing the drawing. I only signed the last one because I didn't want to sign all the little drawings that I made. Always remember to... Oh my god, I cannot talk. Always remember to sign and date your work. And here we have some of my favorite frames in better quality. The main screen, the last loading screen, the characters from the Choose Your Character phase. Here you can pause and read the Stomper messages, the accessories, the weaknesses and skills. And here's all the drawings together. Wow! Here you're gonna have a link in case you want to check the original animation, which I will be posting alongside this video. I think that's all. Make sure you check my Twitter. I think I'm gonna leave that link in the description box as well, in case you want to check all of the references that I used from Harry in detail. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!